Hey guys, hope you're doing well and thanks for watching today's video. Today we're going to talk about the midpoint of a line segment. And the midpoint is exactly what it sounds like. It's the point of a line segment that divides it in half and into two congruent segments. And there's really two methods for finding this out. The first one is counting, so you can simply just count. So if I have a number line, let's see here, and I have, let's make the first point 10 and the first point 6. I could simply connect them 6, 7, 8, 9, then just find the middle. Well, it's going to be 8 right here. So that's the first method. But what you're going to see is that for things like diagonal lines and anything other than horizontal and vertical lines, that's not really an option. So what we really need to do is go to this formula. So this is for difficult situations, and it really will help you find the midpoint of anything. So let's say I have a line here. I'll just draw a coordinate plane really quick. And let's say I have this point here and this point here, and I want to know the midpoint. Well, I can plug that into our formula. So what you're actually doing is you're finding the mean of the x's, and then you're finding the mean of the y's. So it's pretty interesting, and it's pretty intuitive how you do that. So you just add up the two numbers, you divide by 2, and you get the mean. So that's what you're doing here. You're finding the mean of the x and the mean of the y. So that's why it works. So now let's take a look at how we would actually do this in practice. So find the midpoint of segment AB, where A is -3, 4 and B is 6, -5. What I like to do is I like to just kind of sketch it, or at least picture the coordinates that would be connecting this, just so I can see, well, where should the midpoint be? So you can always check if your answer makes sense. So -3, 4, so point A, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say it's up here. This is A. And then I've got B, 6, -5, so that's going to be way down here, roughly about here. And then I can connect these as good as I can. Try to be a straight line, not very straight, but you get the point. So in general, I know my midpoint should be somewhere in this area. I don't know exactly where, but I know that it shouldn't be something like -2, -10. That just can't be the midpoint. So that's just a way to check. So now we want to look at our rule for midpoint. So midpoint says that I find the mean of the x's and the mean of the y's. So I'm going to do x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Well, my x coordinates are -3 plus 6 divided by 2. -3 plus 6 gives me +3 divided by 2. So that will be my x coordinate. And then my y coordinate, I'm going to do the exact same. y2 plus y1 divided by 2. y2 I'll do, or I can do either one. It doesn't really matter. I can do 4 minus 5 or plus -5 divided by 2. Well, 4 plus -5, which is the same thing as 4 minus 5. So I will get -1 divided by 2 there. And then I have my midpoint, and I'm going to say it is going to be 3/2 for our x coordinate and then -1/2 for my y. And that's right in my range that I drew here. Not right on, but it'd be roughly like 3/2 and -1/2. That'd be like right there. So that's in that little circle that I drew. So I'm going to be fine with that. I'm going to move on. And that looks realistic. As you can see, it could be the midpoint, and it is the midpoint. It is the true midpoint. So if my lines were straighter and if my points are more exact, it would be right in the middle of the line. It would break it into two equal segments. So hopefully that makes sense. And now we'll move on to the next one. So point M is at 510, point C is at 715. Given that M is the midpoint of the line segment CD, find the coordinates of point D. So here I see we're given something a little bit different. This is a bit of a challenging problem. So again, I recommend you start with drawing the coordinate plane and kind of getting an understanding of what am I working with, what does this look like. So here we go. I'm going to draw what I'm given. I'm given the point M is 510. 510, we'll say it's up here. And I'm given that point C is 715. So 715, we'll say is up here. Now I'm going to label them. I've got C and I've got M. And it says that point, given that M is the midpoint of segment CD. So if M is in the middle of CD, I know that D is going to have to be somewhere on this side, right? Because M separates segment CD in half. So it's got to be like this. So I know that D has to be somewhere over here, so that makes sense. But now how can I figure out the exact coordinates of D? Well, let's look at our midpoint formula. We said x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then y2 plus y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Let me erase that right quick. y1. Okay, so if that's the midpoint, so I'll just say MP. Well, I know that point M equals that. So 5, the value of point M, the x coordinate, is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And I know actually, well, x1, we can make that c. So we can make that 7. So we could say, well, that's going to be 7 plus, then we know this point D, I'm going to label as x2 and y2, because that's that point that we don't know, but it's the second point on the line. So I'm going to say D plus 7 plus x2, which we know is a coordinate of D, divided by 2. Well, that still has to equal to 5. Now I just solve for x2. So multiply both sides by 2. I get, that's a multiplication, I get 7 plus x2 equals 10. x2 equals 3. So my x coordinate of the D is 3, which makes sense. That looks about right where I drew it in my coordinate plane, so that seems right. So x2 is 3, and now I need to find y2. Well, we do the exact same thing. So I know that the y coordinate of the midpoint is this, that 10. So I'm going to say 10 equals, and I know one of my coordinates, I know the c coordinate is 15, so 15 plus y2, which I know is in point D, divided by 2. Now I'm just going to solve. Multiply both sides by 2. I'm going to get 20, because I multiplied by 2 here and here. I get 20 equals 15 plus y2. Subtract 15 from both sides. I get y2 equals 5. So point D equals, well, 3 and 5. And does that make sense on my chart? In my graph over here, I mean, it does. That looks like it would be roughly where it should be, so that's right. So hopefully that makes sense as well. And that is all we have for today. I hope this was able to help. I hope you understand what a midpoint is. I hope you really understand the intuition behind it, because you're going to have to do this a lot, and it's really just a good thing to know how to do just in life in general, because it'll help you out. So memorize this formula right here. This is the key, and I hope this was able to help. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.